What's going on, 49er faithful, 49er fan, 49er gang? It's your boy 49er down here back with another video. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything San Francisco 49ers. With that being said, we're going to get right on into it. So we're definitely going to just recap the free agency period for 2021. My idea is I think that we won, man. I think we won in a big, major way. And I got two special guests coming along with me to provide their opinions and help me out and, going over all of these people and helping me out with understanding the few signings because some of them I'm a little confused on. But we're going to bring in special guests Jason DePonte and Leo Luna. What's going on, fellas?
You go first, Leo. Damn it.
What's good, everyone? It's Friday Eve, so it's feeling good. It feels like that weekend's about to be around. I brought out the drip just for Jason today.
The chain, right? Like I was like, man, that chain. That's so. I mean, you didn't bring it out for me. You brought it for Dion. So don't do that. Like you brought it on the show
for everybody. Oof.
Yeah, man, he brought the drip. I feel like now I'm gonna have to go. See, I get paid tomorrow. I'm gonna have to go get some drip. I can't have him coming on here and then I look all regular and shit, and then he got
Dion,
the drip.
Dion, don't get upset. The stimmy hit and he acting up. So
that's that stimmy money.
Yeah. It's on Biden. It's on Biden.
And it's for 4 to 5 straight days, it's gonna be nothing but surf and turf and Perrier water. Right. But eventually that money runs out.
You gotta re-up.
Yeah, that's hilarious, but that's the truth though. I ain't finna front you, man. Because as soon as my stimmy hit, I'm not gonna lie. I am a lifelong Thundercats fan. Love my Thundercats.
Okay.
In the day, so Puma did a deal with Thundercats. Kicks is already on the way.
There you go.
It's a wrap. I had to go get him. I had to. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, John V, Matt, Mariah, everybody in the chat. But yeah, man, what I feel like our free agency was at least an A to an A- at a bare minimum. Just with everybody that we signed, of course, getting the biggest piece back that we needed in Trent Williams, because that helped us solidify our offensive line. If we didn't have Trent Williams there, I felt like we were going to have to try out Justin School, and that just was going to wind up being a disaster.
Yeah, and I mean the thing also too with Trent coming back is it brings Alex Mack, improves the offensive line. To your point about A-, whatever it is for this is, I think what's really important about being able to bring in all your guys back who are going to be able to step right back into their roles and continue to contribute is now you have ultimate flexibility at 12. So you can stay at 12, you can move up, you can move down. You literally haven't tipped your hand. I think the only real thing the 49ers need to address right now in free agency is probably one more starting cornerback, just one more, whether that's AJ Boye, whether that's Hayward, those guys that are still out there. You need one more because you don't really want to go into this season with Verrett and Mosley alone or the draft, because then that kind of tips your hand to what you're thinking at 12, and you don't want to do that either. So if they make one more solid signing in AJ Boye for no money, things like that, because you're seeing those deals come out now after the market has been depressed, I think then the 49ers are in prime position to do exactly what they want to do in the draft. So I think that's what really makes an A to an A- is that you've addressed all of those things, and now you can do whatever you want and be flexible in the draft.
Yeah, right now I'm probably at a B+. The reason why is there's still that cloud hanging over on the quarterback position as far as like who's going to be QB2. And then there's a lot of the fan base to where they don't even want number 10 as QB1. I feel even suspect to say his name right now, so I'm just leave it at number 10.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, so it's like until they could at least solidify a QB2, it's not even like so much of moving off of number 10. It's just get me somebody else than Josh Rosen. If someone has to get in there and go 3 starts, I'm a little sussed out on Josh Rosen. It may go 0-3. So, and then that 0-3 that could ruin your season. So until they fix that part, I'm going to say I'm going with the B+ because Trent was huge. I want AJ Boye to happen just for Jay. And I think they do need to add this is my sleeper for the slot receiver. 49ers don't run 3 receivers too often, but when they do, I want to see Danny Amendola right there. The guy's been clutch. His drop percentage, like I'm a big Kendrick Bourne fan, but his drop percentage compared to Kendrick Bourne is about like half the rate, maybe even more than half the rate. He's just very clutch. Jimmy runs a New England style offense where a lot of the plays are short and in the middle. They try to make Trent Taylor play that Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola type role.
Wes
Never
Welker.
really worked out. But Danny Amendola, you're not taxing his body too much. He's known to have injury history. But if you could get him out there for 10, 12 plays through the slot, why not? It's probably a veteran minimum at this point.
I love that call too because of the Wes Welker, connection. Now Welker and Amendola, back together. Also, to Leo's point, when Jimmy was really the apple of everyone's eyes, it was when Trent Taylor was getting open in those spaces and he was making plays. So I'm not saying that that's what he's missing, but I'm saying that if you're building this roster, right, no matter what you're doing it to the benefit of everybody and you're doing it to maximize everyone's productivity. So that could be a way where on 3rd and 4, if he's looking for something, Danny Amendola has been in every big moment that you can name, understands how to run routes. And again, it's just going to be something of, again, in Kyle's offense, there's always going to be one guy open. He would be that guy most likely because of how he runs his routes and everyone else paying attention to everyone else. So, I had mentioned him too, and I think that it's more and more likely now. Another name that was floated out there, which is now off the board as slot receiver, Washington just signed Adam Humphries, and that was somebody that I thought about too as well, but now that's off the board. So now once Adam Humphries goes, now you start to see yourself maybe lining up Danny Amendola to be over here, and I'm not upset at that because that will cost you no money, zero money.
And also, it doesn't it's not going to affect if they want to take a receiver in the draft. They're not going to say, "Oh, we're not going to select this guy because we just signed Danny Amendola." So that doesn't affect you in the draft, and that's why you should probably do it. Because if you do take a receiver that's more of a slot guy, he gets to learn from Amendola, but also Wes Welker. To me, that is just huge.
That's very true. I heard Danny Amendola's name mentioned a little earlier today, but. Like I said, injury history is kind of what scares me because we've had, a host of injuries just in general. I know last year we just caught out a wash. So
he fits right in, Dion.
Yeah. Yeah, with the way that John Lynch is loving on these injury-prone players, I mean, it happens. But for me, I don't know. I'm looking at it right now, and I don't see anything that says that number 10 will not be at under center, at the beginning of the season until after the draft. That's where I'll be able to make a full determination because you can't if in the draft I randomly see us do something that we have not done in years and we jump up into the top 10, that tells me that Kyle knows there's someone there, i.e. possibly as Jason has alluded to, Justin Fields. Or possibly, if they jump up even higher and they go 2 or 3 and they see that Zach Wilson somehow slipped past the Jets, then they're coming and they're running in there going, hey, we'll give you X, Y, Z, and this, that, and the third to go ahead and get Zach Wilson. You see that move made, then you already know number 10 is on his way out the door. But for me, I'm all right with number 10 with this offensive line, typically. I'm saying – strictly based on the fact that we built the line, as our line is currently constructed, it's Trent Williams, Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack, Daniel Brunskill, and Mike McGlinchey. Now, we all know how we feel about Mike McGlinchey. He's suspect in the pass game, but he's a damn good run blocker.
Yep.
And everybody else along that line, I think that now when you have that cohesiveness as far as Alex Mack being the guy to say, hey, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. This is going this way. Hey, watch this guy. All those things, that communication along that line, they can become cohesive and nobody gets injured, praying to God that nobody gets injured. That right there gives Jimmy no out. If you're our starter for the season and you're behind that offensive line and you're trash again, you need to go. There's no way you can screw this up.
I wish it was kind of like Madden to where you could turn injuries
The
off.
sliders.
Just turn it off, and you ain't worried about nothing.
Get them all the way off.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But go ahead, Jay.
What I'll say is that Alex Mack really doesn't miss games either. That's the thing. And we've seen the importance of what happens with this team and how they run the ball and how they operate just in general when there's a competent center under there. So, say what you want about Weston Richburg, but this offense looked different when he was there. He does exactly what Kyle was looking for. So, having Alex Mack there, experience in the system, and you alluded to it and said it, Dion, those communication errors on those sacks, they're not going to be there anymore. So, it's again, all these moves lead me to believe that you're insulating number 10 with as much that you can to give him the best, to put him in the best spot to win, to put him in the best spot to, to be productive. And that's what, that's where I'm at with it more than anything. Like, even if they do draft somebody, draft a quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo's a starter. Sorry, I said his name. Number 10 is a starter, easily. I mean, that's just the way things are trending, honestly, at this point. I mean, it's once you start to see people coming off the board, okay, no Dalton, no Fitzpatrick, none of these guys. That's it. It's what makes sense. And this is why you've heard the front office say what they've been saying the entire time. Just in case, whatever upgrade doesn't come to fruition, you still have been saying all the right things about the guy that you want, to be your quarterback. So it still works out perfectly, honestly.
Yeah, and I think even if they do move up in the draft, there's a chance that Jimmy Garoppolo could still be the week 1 starter, because the other name that's been mentioned out there is Sam Darnold. Okay, if you gave draft assets to go ahead and move up to get your guy, and then you're going to give more draft assets to get QB2 or a bridge gap, now you're just exhausting a bunch of resources right now with redoing the deals with Richburg and D Ford, a couple of restructures. You are able to open up some cap space to where you're not feeling the need to shed Jimmy as much as we did, say, in January or December. But yeah, draft time, everything I've heard, draft time is going to be the decision. And if Jimmy is the quarterback week 1, honestly, like you said, the offensive line is straight. Debo, Ayuk, if we could turn the filters for injury off on them as well. Like, I love those two guys, George Kittle. And with Daniel Brunskill, he kind of just bounced around all throughout the line. And now you're going to bring in a guy like Alex Mack into that offensive line room. That's going to help out Brunskill's knowledge and his IQ with at seeing different fronts. And I think it's going to be able to help his growth from a learning perspective, not necessarily a physical perspective. And him at right guard, I think he has a lot of potential there. We all remember the Aaron Donald game where he basically owned him, and that was the first time Aaron Donald didn't get a sack against the 49ers since 2016. I think he has a lot of skill in what Kyle Shanahan wants to do with his offensive line towards more athletic bodies and not just these big hunk bodies to where you're all pass blockers. These Brunskill could get out in space, fits the zone run blocking scheme very well. So I think this offensive line, and even if they do take someone else instead of Brunskill in the draft, you could find a starter in day 3, because this interior offensive line in the draft, Brad Graham has been on Kendrick Green of the SF Niners, and Kendrick Green, he was like a round 4 projection, and that kick a ball. That's how deep this draft is, and that's really your only need. And with McGlinchey, if you get back to more of 2019 where you're running the ball, hitting play action, things like that, I don't think he's going to be exposed as much as he was in 2020, because if we're just keeping it real, what he did in 2020 was what he did in 2019. The difference is the Niners were 13-3 and not 6-10.
And I feel like every time McGlinchey did have one of those plays that floats around on Twitter, it was always at the worst time possible, like on a fourth quarter drive and things like that, or a third down. So it gets magnified. A little bit more to the Brunskill point is, versatility is great. You love to have a guy who can play center, right guard, but don't underestimate the value of being able to take the same reps from the same place and learn. So that's the thing. It's like, just because a guy can move around doesn't mean you should. But remember, he was moved around with necessity. So I expect to see Brunskill be fine, provided he's taking all of the right guard reps, which we think he is. So that's another good point to bring up. It's like, man, because he can play center doesn't mean that he should be. And you can't imagine the assignments on center and guard, even though they're right next to each other, two separate things completely. It's like not even close. It's not like, I know that someone from the outside could look in and say, well, you just moved over a spot. No, you're hiking the ball and then you're trying to get your head back up so you can put your hands up. And and you have to ID everything. So once that's off your plate and you put him right next to McGlinchey, that'll help a little bit more, I think, man.
And see, the other part about that is when you have the type of situation that we had last year, because of COVID, we couldn't have Weston Richburg there at least trying to tell him, hey, man, this is what I'm seeing. This is what you can do. Mm-hmm. So if you at least have someone kind of giving you some kind of, mentoring, telling you, hey, these are the things I saw in this game. Look for this, studying film with you, going along with you on all that ride, that helps because that'll put you in a better position to make better decisions. But you can't have nobody around. You have to have all the social distancing, everything like that. But let's just take a look at some of the guys that we brought in just on our free agency trip, because we've definitely had a beautiful, beautiful run in free agency. So just some of the new guys that we brought in. We brought in Samson Ibukam. I'm going to say Ibukam because
Ibukam.
Okay, so it's Ibukam on a 2-year, $12 million contract. We got Zach Kerr from the Panthers on a 1-year deal. Of course, we have Alex Mack. And then we've got a wide receiver, Trent Sherfield, I know nothing about.
Special teamer, depth receiver.
Yeah.
Nothing to get excited about.
Okay, and it looks like Tavon Wilson from the Colts. Those are our new guys that we actually brought into the fold. Of course, basically on that list, the one that really, I guess, rings a bell for everyone is, Ebukam, just based off the fact that he played for the Rams and he played against us. Everybody else seems to be a depth piece, nothing to really, freak out over. Our actual technical free agent signings have not been, huge splashes. We didn't run out and go get a Bud Dupree or, anything like that. And the Bucs pretty much stopped everybody from signing anybody they had on free agency because they went out and spent money. And, of course, that's how it works. But to me, the way that we really won was just strictly with the guys that we went ahead and brought back. Daniel Brunskill, I'm not going to say the boat's name because I don't feel like he was even worth bringing back. Ross Dwelly. You still have Marcel Harris there. You've got Dante Johnson, DJ Jones, Juice, Mosley. We got our long snapper, Tabor Pepper, back for a couple years. You still have Josh Rosen. You got Tart back. We got Verrett. We've got K1. We've got all of the guys that we brought back based off of free agency is pretty much where I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, we're going to sign anywhere between about 10 to 15 of these dudes. And we had almost 40 to 42 free agents. So all the guys that we signed made sense. And I have to agree with Jason. We do need another solid cornerback. If we get another starting DB, I kid you not. I watched Patrick Surtain II's pro day. He looked damn good to me. And I watched Asante Samuel Jr.'s pro day. He looked good too. But the thing about Asante Samuel Jr., I feel like he's going to be his dad. He's going to be a ball-hawking type of DB. You're not going to put him in there against the fastest guys because he's going to get beat. He doesn't look ridiculously quick, but he has the skills. He's got the hands. And that's just my favorite type of defensive back is a ball hawk. I like a guy who goes after the ball because it gives the offense the ball and or it gives him a chance to get a pick six. But based off of our free agent signings, there's no way we should be able to lose this season with just the depth, looking at the way that everything is presently constructed, because I gave you the offensive line on how that's presently constructed, so that's a win, right? So you look at the receivers. You start with Debo and Ayuk. You got Kittle as your number one. You're going to interchange Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert in the backfield. You still have Juice. There's no way this offense should lose. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, just point to last year. How many games were kicked away because the quarterback threw 4 interceptions instead of 2? If you would have thrown 2 Nick Mullins, you probably win that game. So like there's so many games that you could point to and just say, man, if he didn't turn the ball over 4 times and maybe just twice, they win that game. Now you have to think when you bring all those people back and barring catastrophic injuries again, This team was very close in games that they shouldn't have been. The defense played well without certain guys in and out. You know, they got what they got from almost everybody. There was only one real game where the defense really got his ass kicked, and that was the Miami game. But we understand what happened in that game. That's different. Every other game, the defense played well. And if they didn't, it was at the end of the game when they couldn't sustain drives and they were already gassed out on the field and everything as well. So when you look at how close the 49ers were in winning how many games they were last year, when you talk about competent quarterback play and just solid across the board. Sorry, my daughter's in the other room. And you talk about this defense getting Bosa back, adding these additions, having these guys there. Yeah, there's no reason that this team shouldn't be able to win 11 games with the roster properly constructed, and that's before you get into the draft. If you really nail this draft, now you're talking about a super deep roster, and you're talking about 12, 13 games, and maybe you might be talking about a deeper playoff run. And that's what 49ers fans should be excited about. No matter how you feel about number 10, just understand that he's going to be the week 1 starter, and the 49ers have a real chance to win a bunch of games with him. That's it. That's all that really matters.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like I think Samson Ebukam is an upgrade over Kerry Hyder because what he's going to provide as far as an offset with Nick Bosa, he's going to give you more of a speed edge rusher, situational. That's what he was with the Rams, and the effect when he was a situational edge rusher, it was kind of the D Ford effect, what we saw in San Francisco. And also, he's able to provide this front with more exotic looks because he's a guy who did drop back in coverage before. He has what I think his career passer rating against is under 80. He has an interception in his career as well. His completion percentage against is about under 60. So he's able to still drop back in coverage at a high level, or instead of having to send Fred Warner all the time, maybe they could send 5 with Samson Ebukam coming off the edge. So it does provide more exotic looks to where you could put them on the field, let's say after week 10, because I want to say D Ford's and be on the field by week 10. You could have Ebukam, D Ford, Eric Armstead, Kinlaw, and Nick Bosa all on that defensive front right there. And you don't know if Ebukam is going to drop back. You don't know if he's going to come rush the passer. So it just provides this defense with something they've never had, not even in 2019, just because of the abilities, the athletic traits that Ebukam has, being a guy that ran a 4.5, but he could still cover, he could rush the passer. So that's what I like mainly about that signing. It makes the defensive front more versatile than we have ever seen before. And then the other guys like, was it Sherfield or
Trent Sherfield?
Yeah, he's a special teams guy, and so is Tavon Wilson. But what they provide is special teams because they were bad last year. It was we saw a lot of 20-yard punt returns, kick returns coming out to the 30, 35-yard line, which while this defense was still a top 5 defense, you're not setting them up in a good position when you're giving them the ball at the 35 or even the 40-yard line. So that allows Raheem Mostert to play running back.
Yeah.
And Mark Nazauch was no longer on the team. So I think that was key, finding veteran special teamers than having to rely on rookies to be good at it.
And the other thing is too, to more to Leo's point about, the versatility, right? So, we know Robert Saleh's not here, but that's what Robert Saleh last year, when he was calling blitz, he was using people's reputation and what they put on film against the offense. Meaning when you see Jimmy Ward and K1 on the line, you think what? K1's coming. Well, no, he actually was flipping it, sending Ward and sending him back. So I don't know if D'Amico Ryans is still on that, is still going to move like that, but it is a great point that, while D Ford is, amazing at what he does when he's on the field, he only does one thing, and that's rush the passer. If Ebukam can, work with Kocurek and work on some of those moves while providing some sort of coverage where you can show him at the line and drop him back and then maybe bring your nickel corner, like that type of stuff, the stuff that you won't be able to account for. And that's really what, no matter who the quarterback is, you better hope that you can recognize that, because if you have to try to recognize that at the last minute, you're probably going to get hit. And, so that's a really good point by Leo too.
Oh yeah, that was awesome, because when I watched his presser with the 49ers, that's basically what he was saying specifically, is that they're gonna have me doing different things, several different things. They may have me rushing the passer or maybe in coverage. He said I've been speaking with Coach Kocurek about what they want me to do, and I think that exactly what Leo said is what they're going to have him do. Is basically going to be that moment where they're going to be like, oh, okay, this kid's on the field. Damn it, what is he going to do? And next thing you know, he's in the backfield, and everybody is looking and going, well, who's supposed to cover him? And it's like, I don't know. You got just some random running back. That's not going to work. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because it's very rare that you find a running back that's going to be there. And then you spoke on Kerry Hyder. So how do y'all feel about the guys that we lost with Hyder? We lost two people to Seattle, which the NFC West is notorious for trading players around in division. We lost Kerry Hyder and we lost Spoon. I'm not as sad about Spoon as I am about Hyder. I do like the fact that when he is with Chris Kasarik, he puts out his best production. But it was, I guess it was a good and a bad thing. They really felt good on the fact that I don't have faith that D4 is going to be on the field and be healthy enough to give us enough games to even garner the contract that we've restructured. But then we lost Tevin Coleman's now finally in New York. Finally, somebody from the Jets, from the Niners went to the Jets.
They're stealing all our players.
I could have sworn this whole offseason I was like, I know that Robert Saleh is going to poach our players. He's coming after K1. He's coming after Kerry. He's going after Ronald Blair. Like, Robert Saleh is going to be out there stealing every 49er he knows. And
he just stole coaches.
Until now, he stole Tevin Coleman. We didn't want him anyway. We relegated him to special teams. So
he stole coaches, so that's it. That's how it was. Like he just brought all of his guys over there, which is smart because now you can install your culture, with guys who understand what you want to do. So I get that part. But yeah, you know what? Count me as one of those guys that was scared about everybody going to the Jets, honestly, especially KK, man. Yo, I don't think people understand. KK lives 20 minutes from MetLife Stadium. I don't understand. Like he could wake. If he has to be at work at 9:30, he can wake up at 8:45 and still make it to. Right? He can still make it to the stadium on time. That close. That's how close Patterson is to MetLife. But yeah, I agree, man. I thought for sure you were going to see a mass exodus of 49ers follow Robert Saleh, but that didn't happen. It really didn't. And I think it has to do more with the market than it does Saleh trying to get them over there. Mm-hmm. With K1 coming back, it's huge because now you've locked down nickel corner while not extending him for, a long time. It's 1 year, and then you can pick it up and see what happens after the year after that. So, yeah, I think it's more about the press market because there's so many good players still out there right now and just haven't been signed. Like Chark came back for basically nothing because he wants to bank on himself. You have to think that there's a lot of people out there right now that have that similar mindset and are going to be willing to take deals like that because if the cap explodes next year like we think it is, and we're probably going to have butts and seats, then you go get paid. So bank on yourself. And I think that's what really happened with that.
And I think it's key to bank on yourself in the same system you've been playing in,
for sure.
Same system that you're familiar with the past few years. Like with KK, why go bank on yourself in Kansas City? And where that would be freshly new on a year where you could pick up double your salary the very next season. I thought he was going to go to the Jets for some time, but hindsight 2020, just looking back at it, Saleh had some effective nickel corner play when he had Jamar Taylor in, when he had Dante Johnson in, minus the Buffalo Bills game. So he may come to the mind to where I'm going to go ahead and offer this, and I could plug and play anyone at my nickel corner spot, and the way I play it, they're going to have success. So that's just a hindsight 2020 theory behind it. I don't have any confirmation, and I honestly don't need anyone to confirm that. But with Kendrick Bourne, that's the one I got sad about. That's the one I was like, okay, let's cry. Like, I'm not even going to pretend to do his dances, but not seeing that on Sundays.
Yeah, it's bittersweet because you want Kendrick Bourne to get a bag. He's earned it. He really has. I get it. He drops passes and he smiles, and we all want to punch him in the face for it. But then he because I'm sorry. I'm one of those people. If we're getting our asses handed to us in the game, there's no reason for you to be celebrating when you score a touchdown, unless it's like your first touchdown or it's some kind of milestone in your career. If it's like 40-0 and you just scored a touchdown, why are you celebrating? For what? I'm sorry. If it's the fourth quarter, it's 40-0. There's only 5 minutes left, and we're gonna need God and an active God to be able to do this. But I wanted KB to get a bag, so when he did, it was cool. And then I thought about it. What they did in New England was basically tell Cam Newton, this is your chance. We're going to allow you to audition for other teams because you're not going to be here with us. But I'm going to give you the tools to succeed. So you better make this crap happen because you just gave him a Tom Brady-esque type of setup. He's got 2 tight ends now. KB is there. KB is, if anything, he's at least a first down or a touchdown. He's one of the 2. So you don't have to worry too much about that, and he's a more experienced receiver. So for me, yeah, KB hurt. It hurt but I love his energy, man. And I ain't trying to imitate his dances either, Leo, because I would look stupid as hell trying to pull that off.
Yeah, I'm like low key looking in the draft. I'm like, man, who got that KB swag to at least try to get that back and do a little pregame with Debo. Like I need that. I want some of that. And then when I saw him in New England, I'm like, damn it, man, they ain't gonna appreciate him like I did.
With KB, it's like watching one of your own grow. Watching him before your eyes grow. Undrafted free agent, used to be number 6, becomes a big piece of what made the team successful. And when you're an undrafted free agent and you have a chance to cash in, I love the 49ers, but I'm so happy for him. I'm happy for his grind and everything. It is kind of sad. I agree. Even though I've been one of those people, because it'd be wrong of me to act like, I never said anything like this, but I wanted them to upgrade the 3rd wide receiver spot, with guys, like Curtis Samuel, Smokey Brown, things like that. Those didn't happen. So now we're looking at the Danny Amendolas and stuff like that. And for me, that's a little bit of a downgrade when it comes to Kendrick Bourne, just because I think that KB can do a little bit more, with his speed and such. But Amendola makes up for it with how he runs and everything as well. He runs all his routes. So, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go hop off and be right back, though. Give me a second. Good God.
Take your time, brother. Take your time. You know what I did see, though, here? And this came across on my phone. The NFL is not going to require that players and or coaches have the COVID vaccination. Now, that to me is kind of confusing. So I live in Arizona, and our governor just lifted every restriction you can think of. So
really,
all of our stuff has basically been lifted because the numbers are going down. The vaccination's out. They're actually starting to give it to the public. It's not just people that have health risk and are older people. So they started to lift it. But the weird thing is they did the same thing in Texas, and there's still a bunch of businesses in Texas that basically look at you like, if you don't have a mask, don't walk in my building. So states are trying to do things. I know California's like partially. How do y'all feel about that? That's a little – I thought that might possibly be a bit of a requirement, for the league.
How I see it for the league not requiring the vaccine is basically all these teams are across different states. Each state is going to have its own law. They may do something. I believe what the NBA has done is you don't have to wear a mask 24/7 if you have both your vaccine shots. I think they could go somewhere down that route, but to force players to get the vaccine, I could see why they decided not to do that, because at the end of the day, those players are their own individual. They have their own beliefs, and it's kind of just hard to say you have to get it. I know even at hospitals or clinics, they weren't requiring each employee to get it as well. So if hospitals and clinics weren't requiring it, then why hell should the NFL?
True.
I mean, it's state to state. So, I'm not high risk, but I'm on the list to, get vaccinated. I just have to wait for whenever the call is. So it's all going to be state to state. But for the most part, everybody's kind of just opening up little by little, more than anything. And it's just like, I think that we're working to a place where things are going to be semi-normal, somewhat normal. It's still not going to be normal. People are still going to have to wear masks and things like that, but it's going to be semi-normal. So, that's the only thing.
I'm still going to wear a mask when I go to the grocery store. I don't know how many bugs are flying around that with coughs and stuff. No, look, COVID got me thinking. It's like, oh, man, I might keep this on at the local Safeway or something.
So here's an example. I'm a Yankee season ticket holder, and they reached out to me yesterday about what's going to be happening. So they're allowing fans in pods and things like that, but it's limited seating. It's not full seating. So, but here's the kicker. You either have to be fully vaccinated or you have to produce a COVID test from 72 hours before, but you have to wear a mask the entire time too. So that's the thing. So again, state to state, it's all going to change, but you're still going to see masks in many places. That's the thing.
Yeah. Sporting events, I believe that. I believe probably by the time football gets here, though, when we're actually about to play games, they may have lifted it possibly a little bit. I don't think so. But, I mean, you got to think about it. Next year, I expect that cap to explode. I do not expect us to have a shitty cap like we did because, like I said, I know people are like, man, we got all these one-year deals, so we're going to be back in the same situation next year. Not necessarily, because we'll have more money. And this is basically just a cleanup year. The owners just got that TV money. So they're sitting on that. They're not tripping. They are good. But now knowing that everything is working out in their favor where they're going to have butts in the seats for the season, they're going to be good. For me, I think that, it's a win-win for all of us because I for damn sure planned on going to the game when they played the Cardinals here so we can just talk crap and beat on the Cardinals, and I can laugh in Cardinal fans' faces as I do on a normal basis when I see them wearing their gear because they see me. I like literally this hat. I have a bunch of 49er stuff, and I wear it proudly wherever I go in Arizona. And our fans are deep in Arizona. We literally take over bars. So it's always crazy when you go places. But I'm happy that at least things are slowly getting back to normal. And hopefully by the time football season actually gets here, that we can actually go ahead and go to a game and sit down, relax, have a drink, and just be cool about it. The other thing I did want to talk about strictly was we got 9 draft picks. Now that we've done what we did in free agency, we have the luxury of kind of doing what we want to an extent. What do you guys think we would be able to do? Because we got 3 5th-round picks, and John Lynch seems to make his money in the 5th round. He seems to do very well with those draft picks. But what do you guys think we could do? Because, I mean, I see it as we can pretty much go wherever we need to go if we really want.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't feel this way if it wasn't for the group of quarterbacks that are available in this draft. But I think it's time right now to do this because you don't know what's next year. And I'm not trying to speak this into existence. But if you roll with 10, and things go left very fast, you didn't draft somebody, and now we're doing exactly what we did last offseason, this offseason. Photoshopping Gardner Minshew into jerseys. Photoshopping Andy Dalton into – listen, it is time. It's time. The contract gets harder and harder to get out of. I'm not telling you to replace Jimmy Garoppolo. I am saying that if right now this front office doesn't do what they should by getting a quarterback, whoever that is, and for me, there's 5 that are straight up going to be great in this league from good to amazing. That's where these 5 guys are going to be. It's got to be one of these guys at this point. But if you sit at 12, they're not going to be there. They are not going to be there. That's my issue. And if you know what? You don't want to do the quarterback thing. Maybe you want to fall back. Maybe you like Davis Mills. I don't want to get Leo mad. Okay. But you better trade back and you better accumulate more picks. Look, I know Leo doesn't like that, but Kellen Mond for me, now his stock is too high. I don't think he falls to the 2nd round anymore. I think you see him in the 1st round. There's a possibility that you will see 6 quarterbacks in the 1st round be taken. There's a possibility that the first 4 picks are going to be quarterbacks. All of these things are on the table. So it's time. If this was the draft and we knew going forward, it's like Daniel Jones and, whoever, maybe you don't push the envelope. Justin Fields, Wilson, Trey Lance, even Mac. You've got to make a move now, I think, at this point. You've got to get this quarterback of the future on this roster, man. You do. Because no matter what you want to say, until they touch that contract, they're not fully invested all the way. They're just going with what they can because it's there for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's month-to-month rent. That if you want to look at it like that, it's month-to-month rent. It's not a mortgage. You're not tied into a year contract. What I will say is the way this roster is set up right now, Jimmy Garoppolo's going to win a lot of football games in 2021. Obviously, injury filter turned off because we've seen what happened in 2020. So I feel like I have to say that. But he's going to win a lot of football games in 2021. He should win a lot of football games in 2022. Understanding the limitations you have from a playbook standpoint and a play calling standpoint, what's going to happen after those 2 years that's left on his deal? Is he going to say, I want $35 million? Is he going to say, I want $30 million and just take up more of the cap? Because he's going to win a lot of football games under Kyle Shanahan with him calling plays with this roster. He's going to win a lot of football games. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get a Mac Jones or a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields in the 2022 draft. There's no guarantee, because if they win a lot of football games, they'll be drafting in the 20s. So, and then moving up for one of those guys, one of those prospects, is going to be a whole lot harder in 2022 and forward. So that's why I say, yeah, I'm with Jason on making the move now because of where you're currently sitting with the 12th pick, and with contracts like Fred Warner, Bosa's going to be in about 2 years. Eric Armstead's getting more expensive. George Kittle's going to get more expensive year by year. So that's why I think it's probably about time. And you already send those signals. Like it's just not healthy when you talk to Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I feel like, is the one excuse you could get away, is by saying, hey, it's Tom Brady. Okay, like, we get it. But then once you start mixing in the Sam Darnolds, start saying even the Teddy Bridgewater leaked, and then it got retracted saying, oh, no, it wasn't about Teddy Bridgewater. The Carson Wentz gets leaked out there. So, like, now you're talking about these parallel moves, and I feel like that's where it can get dirty, and you don't want it to get dirty. So you got to get ahead of the curve on it and just make that move now. And then talking about the rest of the draft, you can take best available, but I do feel like there is positions that you do need to take, to where you got to get an interior offensive lineman. While I love the Alex Mack signing, he is older. Does he have 1 year, 2 years left? And then with a guard, you still need to get that as well, because what happens if Tomlinson and Brunskill goes down? We saw injuries. Tackles, what happens if Williams or McGlinchey misses a game? And then I do believe you need to invest in a receiver. You obviously need to invest in corners because they're all basically 1 year deals. You need to invest in a safety because Tarvarius Moore's contract's up. Jaquaski Tartt's contract's up. Marcel Harris contracts is up after this season. So there is positions of needs, may not be for this exact season, but this is why you invest in some of these drafts at those positions now, for that you already have them a year under your system to grow, rather than expecting to have a bunch of rookies start from day one.
Yep. Yeah, well, Jason, we know you got to get rolling there, sir.
Thank you for having me, Dion. I appreciate it, man. And
appreciate you.
Anytime that you want to hop on, not Leo, you. Anytime that you want me to hop on is cool. Not Leo though. Leo doesn't get to get me to hop on. He's got to go through he's got to have his people contact my people. You, that's different. You just send me a DM.
You know.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, man. Have a good evening.
I'm just glad he didn't call me Kike. So.
No, well, I didn't. They were doing it in the comments, so they doing the Lord's work in the comments, though.
Yeah, no, they've been calling you Enrique the whole time, bro. Enrique the whole time.
All right, fellas, thank you.
All right, man. Have a good evening.
Later.
Yeah, man, but you definitely got the facts right. But I have to agree with you and Jason on that. To me personally, you gotta go get somebody. You have to.
I like Jimmy. Like I said, they could win a lot of games with Jimmy, but it's like, would you rather win a lot of games, or would you rather invest in a guy that you could potentially win a championship when things aren't all right? We saw what happened when things weren't all right. Like, we saw what happened. I'm
gonna be honest with you. I heard about David Mills. I automatically said, okay. No. First thing I do, and I'm this person. The first thing I do is I'm going to look at your stats. His stats were trash. I understand they run the ball in Stanford, but good God, you didn't put up anything. You put up some mediocre stats that would make Blaine Gabbert look good.
What I call Mills is like Nick Mullins 2.0.
Yeah, and I don't need
That's what I call Davis Mills.
And then I don't like the Sam Darnold pick at all. I don't.
No.
Here's for me. what I did was, like, when they start mentioning a bunch of quarterbacks in the 49ers, what I do is I try to look at them. And honestly, I know that Jason got on me about the whole Ohio State not producing quarterback thing. He was like, look at the player and not that. But let me tell you, USC really doesn't produce quarterbacks, because the last quarterback from USC that was any good was Carson Palmer. You can't say that Mark Sanchez was great, because Mark Sanchez basically rolled the coattails of a good defense over there with the Jets. He did some okay things on offense, but he rolled the coattails of the defense there. I think, was Tim Couch USC? I think he was.
Tim Couch?
No.
He wasn't USC.
He wasn't USC. Then you have Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart was trash. We all saw that. And then, yes, what everybody is doing with Sam Darnold is they're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, because they're saying he had Adam Gase and it was a dysfunctional offense and all these other things. Sam Darnold barely could stay healthy. And then at the same time, I don't see anything that makes me go, man, that guy's going to be a great NFL quarterback. Like, there's nothing that, like, from the eye test that I see that says I want Sam Darnold to be my starter. And I think that everybody is riding this train of Kyle can make anything work with any quarterback. No, he can't, because if that was the case, we'd have went to the Super Bowl last year with Nick Mullins. Like, you can't just plug in just anybody. Somebody has to be a cerebral mind. That's why when Kyle came, everybody was like, oh, well, he doesn't like Cap. It's not the fact that he didn't like Cap. Cap can't read the defense to save his life. We all know that. Like, this is foregone.
From what I know is that Cap wasn't brought in, bought in to the team first. From what I know is when he went home, he didn't touch that playbook tablet, didn't watch any tape when he went home. All his work was done at the facility.
So he was
more so a workout warrior. If he would kill it in the gym during those workouts, but then like the studying the game part of it, he wasn't too invested. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were trying to overtake a regime that was toxic.
Yeah.
And they try to build their own regime. So that's what it was about Cap. Didn't have to do with the ability. It was more so, are you bought in to being team first or not? And while I agree with Cap and his stance 100%, but at the end of the day, it's kind of just like any other job. It's like any other job. It's, if your employer sees that you're not invested in the job, then a lot of people are going to get fired at that point, and that's basically what happened with him.
Yeah, that's very, very, very true, because I've seen that before, and for me, I'm one of those people. I'm just realistic. I've told people a million times over, Cap will never touch an NFL field, and everybody looks at me and they go, "Why?" And I'm like, it's not because of his talent. It's just a fact of what happened. It is what it is. You got to let that go, move on, and that's that. But the type of quarterback that Kyle needs, you've got to be a cerebral assassin, and you got to be able to understand the complications in this offense. This is not something you just walk in, pick up from day one and go, oh, this is easy. We're basically running this over here. And then, okay, he's just switching this up. And, okay, we switch these words around. That's not something that you just continually, are able to put that together. Like when I saw that we jumped up to pick CJ Beathard, my first idea was, who the fuck is CJ Beathard? And why are we jumping up to go get him? When we jumped up to draft Dante Pettis, who the fuck is Dante Pettis? And then I looked at it and said, oh, okay, prolific returner. Cool. Makes sense. We'll go ahead, we'll get him. We'll have him do some kick and punt returns. That never, ever happened. But It's him letting go of the guys that he picks, because he always tries to drive it home like, I can make this person work. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you've got to understand that you failed. You lost. Mm-hmm. I don't care how far you throw the controller across the room, it's still not going to change the score on the damn video game. If you're playing Madden and it's 45-0 in fourth quarter and 20 seconds, you lost. There's nothing we can do.
Coaching isn't going to overcome talent at every single time. It doesn't. So while Kyle Shanahan is very cerebral with his offense, he's not going to be able to overcome Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard time to time. Appreciate you, Bronze. And it's like if coaching was the end all be all, Bill Belichick would be winning the Super Bowl every single year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
While they had a historic run with Tom Brady, they still weren't winning. They went through a 10-year drought to where I believe they didn't even win a Super Bowl in over a 10-year drought.
Yeah.
So it's so with that being said, it's Kyle. I think he's learning from it as well. I think he's learning from that, and that's what it's going to take as a head coach. Like, he's a first-time head coach, so he's going to be learning on the job. And if you see him trade up for one of these quarterbacks, then that means he fully, understandably gets it, and he knows that it's going to take more than him to manage this offense.
Yeah, because whatever he does, if we see that happen, to me that just tells me I gave it a shot, I tried. Unfortunately, you're just not healthy enough, or I can't do what I need to do in this offense with you back there. I built everything around what I need. This is my time to shine. And I don't want to have another losing season because, to be honest with you, Kyle only has one winning season, really. And we're ravaged by injuries last year, but either way, Sean McVay, he dealt with his fair share of injuries and things of that nature. He still doesn't have a losing record overall. Kyle does.
Yeah. This is where I'll say that, well, McVay also overtook a really good roster. They just had a terrible head coach and Jeff Fisher leading it. It was like when Jim Harbaugh overtook it from Singletary. That was a really good roster, but unfortunately,
didn't he take it from Tom Sula?
No, Tom Sula was after.
Oh, he's
Harbaugh.
after Harbaugh. My bad.
Yeah. So Tom Sula was a coach for game before Harbaugh when he went 1-0.
Yeah, okay.
The interim head coach, but yeah, it was Singletary's team going into the season, and we saw once you got that head coach what it did. Unfortunately for Kyle Shanahan, when he overtook the 49ers, it was one of the worst rosters in football. Especially like your wide receiver one was Jeremy Curley, who couldn't even make a roster after that point. And same thing with Quentin Patton. That was your wide receiver two, was Quentin Patton. He couldn't make a roster after that point. And then I say where I think he's learning is he's very known to have this aggressive doghouse. We saw him let Ahkello Witherspoon out of that doghouse.
Yeah.
To where a lot of it is known for pride. Well, instead of putting his pride, he put his pride aside to make Mike McDaniel the OC. It may be the OC title, but he gave him that title. So rather than saying, "Oh, if you want to take an OC job, go somewhere else," because I'm going to teach these guys to be just as good as you. But he didn't do that. So I think he's learning. Being a first-time head coach, he's definitely still learning on the job. It's not going to happen overnight, but I do believe that he's learning.
Oh yeah, he's definitely picking up on things, as far as I can see. But the other thing that I was looking at, just on the defensive side of the ball, what we were talking about earlier, look at that line as presently constructed. Bosa, Kinlaw, Armstead. If healthy, I always say if, because I do not trust him, D4,
Right.
or Ebukam. So
Yeah.
the other thing is, with Ebukam, he's going to need to put on a little more size as far as having to stick his hand in the dirt, because you're going to be going up against some pretty big, right tackles there that aren't just not going to be just a pushover. And it's nice that you can get past and you have the speed, but you're not always going to beat some of those dudes like that. You're going to have the good guys. I want to say a big, up yours to Kansas City for trying to steal K1 and Trent, because, Matt in the chat, he sent a tweet, and he had the dude from the commercial. He's like, "Oh, you got to be quicker than that." And he had a picture of Trent Williams and K1 hanging as well. But the way that line is presently constructed, if D Ford is healthy, that just spells to me disaster for any offensive line trying to work with that.
Yeah. I look at D Ford right now as like the Jalen Hurd category. If they're able to get out there for games,
I don't even
fantastic.
say his. I don't say his name. I don't say
Yeah,
his name because I call him Mr. Injury because
Yeah.
we ain't seeing nothing. Everybody
Mhm.
jumped on his train. Everybody was all, oh man, I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see him either on the field, but it's not happening.
Yeah, so I put him in that category. It's kind of a bonus. It's an extra point if you could get him on the field.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but yeah, it's gonna be pretty electric. I think the big key would be having Kinlaw or Armstead win those double team matchups. Because that's something Buckner did very, very well. Buckner was really good at splitting that double team and creating pressure. He was before he got shipped out to Indianapolis, he was the fourth most double teamed defensive lineman in the NFL from his rookie year all the way to his last year in San Francisco. He was the fourth highest. And then I think that's where you saw Armstead's numbers drop because he got more double teams since Buckner's not there. Kinlaw took on some double teams when Armstead was out on the edge. So one of those guys, they just got to get better at defeating those double teams, learning how to split those double teams at a higher rate, because obviously you're going to have a higher advantage when you're just facing one-on-one blocking. But if you're able to help out that defensive line and split that double team, maybe you have the quarterback flush out, and then now you're in Bosa's face, or now you're in Ebicon or D Ford's face. They didn't really get that pressure from the middle of the pocket last year. So a lot of quarterbacks were able to just sit there, maybe step up in the pocket. Kerry Hyder had a really good year, but those were a lot of effort sacks, or we could also call those coverage sacks, where the coverage was good. Kerry Hyder had enough time to get in there and wrap up the quarterback. He wasn't really winning at a quick rate. It wasn't he didn't jet his way to the quarterback to sack him. So I think that's going to be key, is seeing the growth and the development in Armstead and Kinlaw splitting double teams.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you. We make a move to go get someone. We need a QB. Who is that QB?
If they trade up, I think that QB would be Justin Fields. I think Wilson doesn't go past 3. I'm not sure if the 49ers are willing to go up to 3. I don't know if the Jets want to move off of Wilson and just want to take him at 2. I think Fields would be more in their wheelhouse as far as reality to get. I see Mac Jones as a guy that if he lands to them at 12, they'll take him at 12. But I don't see them wanting to move up to select Mac Jones at pick 7, pick 6. I could see them wanting to do that for Justin Fields.
Okay, I have to agree. I'm leaning more and more towards Justin Fields, strictly based on the relationship that Kyle has had with him. Knowing what he can and can't do. And the cool thing is when you know somebody's limitations, you can play to their strengths. And that's the smart thing. That's why Jimmy has looked as good as he has, because Kyle has been playing to his strengths and not asking him to do things that he knows he can't do. So for me, I would love to have Zach Wilson come in here, but I just feel like he's gone. I already know he's gone. We won't be able to get to him. It'd be a ridiculously freakish thing if Trevor Lawrence doesn't go number 1. But the Jags do have one of the dumbest GMs in the league in Trent Baalke. So it's not out of the realm of possibility they pass on Trevor Lawrence and do something else. Because I've never known Amir Khan to actually be involved. He's not like a Jerry Jones where he gets into every little detail and he wants to be there and he wants to do this and do that. So to me, I have to go with Fields strictly based on that. But if we don't move up, I can see us going after, probably, maybe a Kellen Mond. I personally would like, if we did stick at 12, I pray to God that we draft a cornerback. I would love to get, one of these guys in here, your Surtains, your Farleys, your Asante Samuel Juniors, one of those guys. I'd like to have them in here. J.C. Horn is a guy that everybody is mentioning. Heck, I just saw. I think this kid was a wide receiver. He's like 5'7", and he had a 42.5-inch vert. It was like flat out ridiculous. I don't know how you do that. 'Cause I'm 5'6".
They're getting more athletic
Yeah.
every single year that goes by.
Yeah, I was like, I saw that and they put it in slow mo. I was like, what is he doing? I don't know what he's doing or how he's doing that, man. But I would love to see us probably at least start to refill the roster as far as the defense is concerned in this draft, just in general, just because of all of the one-year deals that we have. There's no point for us to wind up having to go back to trying to re-sign these guys. And then they're going to look at us and go, okay, this year you can't lowball me. I know you got money. It's like it's like going to a job and working there and them telling you, hey man, just give us a year of solid production and I'll bump you up. And the next thing you know, that company becomes ridiculously huge. Now they're Fortune 500 and they're like, yeah man, we're gonna give you a 20-cent raise, and you're like, nah, that's not what we're doing.
So I just saw a comment in there saying Minshew, if the 49ers don't take a quarterback in the first round, I don't want Davis Mills at all. I'm not using a day 2 pick Davis Mills. I'm just not going to do that. So what I would do is give up a day 3 pick for Gardner Minshew. I think it gets very, very overlooked that he played for a shitty organization with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now you put a guy like Gardner Minshew with Kyle Shanahan, I think you could see a better result. Being in such a terrible organization, in those 8 starts, he wasn't bad last year. I think it just didn't match the motto to lose out on the season, to where he had like a 66 completion percentage. His touchdown to interception ratio was higher than 2-1. His quarterback rating was up in the high 90s. I think it was around 98 or so. So he can play. Now, I'm not saying he's the franchise quarterback. I'm not saying like let's bring him in to be QB1.
But he's a good enough back.
But I'll take him as QB2 to Jimmy Garoppolo than Davis Mills 100% of the time.
Okay, I can understand that because he did have his little moments. He had his little Minshew mania. He started having dudes wearing jean shorts again, and he's got his little I call it truck driver mustache going on. But I honestly, when I look at the draft, when I look at what we have, if we get a starting corner, I'm not going to be upset. That's my favorite position is DB. I'm actually still pissed off that nobody's broken Paul Krause's all-time interception record of 88. Like nobody has come close. I think Charles Woodson is the closest, if that. But I think that with everything that's happened this offseason, we are sitting in the driver's seat to make a big splash when it comes to that draft. I have a really good feeling that Kyle and John are going to sit there and go, you know what? We're going to wait for 1 and 2 to go. And when 3 rolls around, that's when we make our move. Because currently right now, I do not have it up. Let me see. I'm trying to see what the order is for this year. Hold on 1 second. Because we all know the Jags. Then we got the Jets. And I'm just trying to see exactly who comes up next. I just want to make sure that nothing pops up here. All right. So now with Miami, they're not going to draft a quarterback. Doubt that highly.
No, I don't think they will. They will.
They'll go offensive line. They're going to take your Rashawn Slater, your Penei Sewell. That's where they're headed. I feel like that's where they're going.
Yeah.
Now the Falcons, that's BYU. I smell BYU Zach Wilson all over that. I smell him all over that, strictly based on the fact that, Matt Ryan's old. And
Yeah.
he's pretty much on the back end of his career. And Arthur Blank has made it clear, man, I'm trying to win football games. And if you're here, you're here. If you're not, you're not.
I think I could definitely see Atlanta taking a QB, Jets, Jags. That's already 3 gone.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
So since he's not, they've got they got Burrow. Philly's not, they're rolling with Hurts. Detroit's rolling with Goff. Now Carolina's curious because they're obviously not sold on Bridgewater if he's for sale right now. So
I think that's a QB landing spot.
That really might be a spot. Yeah, you might catch a Justin Fields in Carolina. That might be the spot that we'd have to jump up to just based off of the current draft order. Because after that, you kind of go into teams. The Broncos, they could get a QB because I don't think they're really sold on Drew Lock. I don't think that's going to happen to them. Like they're not really sold on him. They've not been able to find a quarterback since Elway left. And I'm sorry, I always
Peyton. They got Peyton for a couple years.
I was going there. I was waiting for you to say I was going there.
Yeah.
Let me say this, and I'll stick to this. There's certain things that happen in the league that make me believe there are other things being controlled, like our Super Bowl. Randomly, the lights go out while we're getting our asses handed to us by the Baltimore Ravens. No. And Cam Newton goes to the Super Bowl and plays like garbage, and you overthrow Ted Ginn Jr.? Nah. I will stick to this. I always felt like somebody came to Cam and said, look, man, it's the sheriff's last ride. We're going to have to give him this one. I know you're upset. Take a look in your account. Don't worry about it. Things will be okay. We'll get you another time. I always feel like that's what happened, man. But, I mean, those are the guys that we got to worry about, honestly, because in that top 10, I see of course, 1 and 2 are taking a quarterback. 4, the Falcons are taking a quarterback. I see either the Panthers and the Broncos taking one. We luck out at 10 and 11 because neither one of them need a quarterback. Dak's back. Daniel Jones will be fine. Hopefully he doesn't hit 22 miles an hour again because he's only going to fall all over himself and bust his ass on the field when he has a clear touchdown. That's one of the saddest plays in the world. But
awful.
I think those are so it seems like pretty much Denver and Carolina are going to be the guys we're going to have to wind up negotiating with if we want to jump up. But that's basically to be, basically to be announced at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Like, that's why I try not even talking about quarterbacking until the draft. I'll rather, because we don't know. Until the draft happens. What I do know is that the 49ers are holding on to Jimmy until draft day. So they're not going to trade for Darnold. They're not going to trade away Jimmy. All that's not going to happen until the end of April. So until then, it is TBD. But I will talk about which quarterbacks I like and which quarterbacks I don't like. Davis Mills.
Keep driving that one. I know a lot of people get high on him, man, but I'm not seeing anything that's making me want him or like him in any way, shape, or form. For me, honestly, the 2 quarterbacks that I have my eye on is either Zach Wilson and or Justin Fields. Fields, because of the relationship that he has with Kyle knowing what he can and can't do with him, and Zach Wilson just because the kid fits the system. And you know what happened the last time we got a BYU quarterback? We won a Super Bowl.
I think I know.
There's a guy there that, named Steve Young. We were contenders and competitors every year. And see, the thing is you always win a back-to-back Super Bowl. It's not always going to happen. Tom Brady didn't get to 7 in a row. So it took him some time. But, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, bro. We're going to go ahead and end it there. Definitely, you see it right there at Leo Luna 93. Definitely plug any and everything that you have out there, Leo.
I appreciate you having me on once again. It's you could just go to 49ers Gold Mine. That's on YouTube, or plug in 49ersgoldmine.com. That's where you'll see have a few writers plugging out great content on the site, whether it's mock drafts or just roster updates that's going on. So 49ersgoldmine.com.
All right, so y'all hear it, man. Everybody out there, man. 49ers Gold Mine. If you ain't hit the like and subscribe button, I don't know what you're doing. It's 49er content. It's always great. Good to have Leo. It's the first time that I had him on, man. Hopefully many more times to be able to have him on. Appreciate you sitting back and talking some Niner football with me. Everybody out there, stay blessed. Stay safe. Wear your mask still, even though they're lifting these restrictions. Still be careful, man. You don't know what people got. Leo's making sure he's wearing his when he goes to the grocery store.
Yep.
You got some nefarious characters walking around in there if you don't know.
Yep.
But thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful day. I'm out.